Right then, so unfortunately we've all got something in common. So we all get older, and unfortunately for a lot of golfers, as we get older, we tend to get slower with our swings and hit the ball shorter. And something's happened with my golf swing in the last year where my club head speed's kind of gone from nearly 116 mile an hour, really dropped down to kind of just over 100. Now part of it is a couple of little niggly injuries, but also just feels like something's a bit off. So I'm going to share with you what I'm working on in my golf swing that's going to help you hopefully pick up some extra distance off the tee by just using the ground a little bit better. So I'm going to hit an initial drive and we're going to have a look at what Swing Catalyst shows me how I'm generating my speed. And then from that, I'm going to show you what I would work on to try and pick up some speed, hopefully demonstrate it to you, and then you can take that to the range, take it to the golf course and start bombing driver again. So I'm going to set up as normal and just hit what feels like a stock one for me at the moment. You can see that one setting off straight, turning over. So 101 mile an hour. And the rest of the numbers kind of as I would expect for a drive like that. So I know some of you watching might go, I'd love that. But for me, that's a massive drop off from where I've been. So let's have a look at what Swing Catalyst has captured, see how badly I'm actually doing things, and then how I'm going to improve to get some speed back into this. Right, so we saw pretty disappointing club head speed of 101 mile an hour for me. So at address, I can see I've got a little bit more pressure in my left foot, which is great because it gets me moving the club away. So as the club moves back, see the weight really early shift into my right foot, and my right foot is pushing into the ground this way, building pressure under that foot. So doing this really well. As the club changes direction, I reach the peak of this graph, which is me pushing as hard as I can this way to start the downswing, get the club to change direction. I get a really nice twist against the ground here. And then this last blue curve is how I normally generate my speed. So we can see my peak push into the ground is 162% of my body weight. It's around the right place, but it's much lower than it normally is for me. Through into impact, everything pretty solid, just not a lot of speed in there. Okay, so what we saw on Swing Catalyst is at address I'm pretty decent and the ball's forward and I've got a little bit of spine tilt. So everything visually looks good. As I move away, we see my right foot pushes into the floor. It stops me swaying off the golf ball. And then as I get to the top, we see a big push against the floor that way to get me to change direction. I twist against the floor. And the push element for me costs me a couple of things. I'm not pushing as hard into the ground as I have in the past, but also it's making it that because I'm not pushing as hard, my low point's only slightly behind the golf ball. So it's actually making me swing slower and hit up less. Now, if you ever wanted a recipe for hitting driver shorter, that is definitely the one. Right, so the first thing for me is I don't really need to change kind of the backswing and how I'm starting the downswing, but what I need to feel is as the club's getting to about waist height, I need to feel that that left foot's pushing down into the ground and maybe even slightly away from me to get that hip moving back, straightening that leg. And even for me, I can even feel a little bit of a jump off the floor to get it. So I'm going to feel like I straighten the leg early and see how that feels. And straight away, I don't know whether you can hear that, the noise sounds very different with the club head. And I'm not trying to do anything other than just as I'm coming down towards waist height, straightening that leg, pushing hard against the floor, and it definitely makes a different noise. So, I'll be honest, I'll be disappointed if I don't beat 101 with first effort, but maybe not expecting to get to 115 today. So let's get that feel as I'm coming in, straighten that leg, get that hip going back behind me, and let's see what first go gives me. So felt very different. So we see jumps up to 104 club speed. Low points move 4.4 inches behind, so I've hit up 3 degrees. Spins come down to just over 2,000, carry at 248, and total at 270. So instantly, that's a big change in what I'm doing with driver. But from my perspective, love the fact it's in play, but just for today, I'm looking to build speed for distance. So that felt good, but it didn't feel I did it maybe quite as early as I did in the practice swing. So let's go one more of those. That felt really good. So 107 mile an hour, ball speed jumping to 154, low point nearly 6 inches behind, so the club's travelled up 4.2 degrees, spin rate at 2,400, carry at 265, and 285 total. Now that's very, very different. Now, even though I wasn't trying to kind of jump off the ground there, definitely felt my foot come off the floor. So I'm gonna do one more where I'm gonna feel like I actually try and jump off the ground a little bit to see if we can get at least to 110 today, which would be a massive pickup. So I wanna feel, same on the way back, as I'm coming down, I'm going to feel like I push so hard that I jump back away from the ball. It's definitely got the jump. The club head speed wasn't any quicker, still 107, 153 ball speed. Low point well behind, hitting up lots and lots, spin great, carry 262 and 286. Right, so let me just have a look at, maybe not that swing, the previous one on Swing Catalyst, and see, did I do what I was trying to do? Right, okay, so this swing was 107, so 6 mile an hour pickup on the first one, so fairly similar at address, still a little bit more left side pressure, getting that club moving away. We see that nice early build on the top graph. So there's the change of direction, which is still good. Twist. A little bit earlier than it was in the previous swing, and then the push up to 177% body weight into the ground now. So a big pickup in how much harder I'm pushing into the ground. Definitely not as much as I would like. We can see still pretty good on the way through. Club had obviously moved up quite a lot more, but very, very different. And there's that little jump with the foot. Right, so there's definitely more of a kind of push against the ground, but the extra way I'm going to try and get it is I'm going to swing back as normal, but I'm going to feel as I start my downswing, I'm going to kind of get lower to the ground, so I'm going to feel like my chest goes down towards the ground, so that as I jump, hopefully, because I'm putting more pressure into the ground, then I can push harder into the ground and get a bit more speed into that club head. So 110 would be a lovely goal for today. That felt good. Definitely felt feet moving around more. So 109 mile an hour club head speed. Strike wasn't quite as good, but still hit up nearly 6 degrees. Spinning at 2,000, carry at 264, and total at 285. So that one just felt a little bit out of sync. So let's go one more. See if we can get edging closer to that 110. Let's see if we can get there with one last one. I'm looking for ideally around that 300 total. So there we go. 107 club speed, 6 inches behind, 4 degrees up. Little low on the face strike-wise, which made it spin a bit more, but still 257 carry and 276 total. Right, so here's the 109 club speed. So we can see very similar address again. So not quite as much resistance into that right side, but we still see the change of direction in the right place. Twist still very, very similar. But now look at that push, very similar position it's happening, but much, much more exaggerated. Kind of getting nearly double my body weight, pushing against the floor. We see then that's going to create that little bit more whip effect into the club. So I'd love to see it a little bit earlier, which is probably where I'm just costing myself a bit of speed. But there's the jump. Love to say like Bubba Watson, but much more pressure into the ground, therefore much more speed. So we can see now, that was that first drive, 101 club speed, 147 ball speed, hitting up 2 degrees, which was fine, nice low spin at 2.2, carry at 2.31 and total at 2.62. So we've seen a huge pickup, with the best one today being 109 club speed, 153 ball speed, 265 carry and 285 total. So we see there a huge change in club head speed down to the fact that I know what I historically do is create most of my speed from the push into the floor. And even though it's still happening maybe just a fraction late in my golf swing, I'd love to see it a little bit earlier, much more now, kind of double my body weight, which is a lot, going into the ground, coming back up through my body, through my arms, into the club and into the golf ball. Try what I've spoken about today. It might not be the exact way you generate your speed, but if you can kind of use the ground better, even if you're getting older and you feel you're losing speed, can help get some of it back, maybe even get you swinging quicker than ever and hitting the longest drives of your life.